You read the title, you already know what this is going to be about. Let's get into it. Okay, so I get a lot of questions asking about how exactly I do my multiple time frame analysis. Today we're just going to talk about that. Nice, really simple concept. Click off if you already know how to do this. If you don't, you can stay, sit back, and enjoy the education. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is you almost always have to have a base time frame. If you don't have a base time frame, you need to have a base time frame. This is where 90% of your analysis is going to happen, is in the base time frame. This is where you're going to look for your entries. This is where you're going to look for price action to play out and for your triggers to happen before you enter the trade. Now, I like to use a higher time frame as well as sometimes using a lower time frame. Now, what do I mean by a higher time frame? I don't necessarily mean a higher time frame has to be in the hours or the day. A high time frame to me could be the 4 minute. The high time frame is only relative to the base time frame. I got a question because I said the high time frame in one of my videos was an hour, but somebody said that doesn't really seem like a high time frame. Well, the time frame is considered high relative to your base time frame. So if I was on the 1 second, as my base time frame, if I were to use a 1 minute, that would be considered a high time frame compared to the 1 second, right? Because if you really think about it, trading is only relative to whatever candlestick you're using. So a 1 day bar, right? If I didn't tell you this was a 1 day bar and this was a 1 minute bar, you would have no idea. Obviously we're on US 30, so it's a little bit different. But you can't tell the difference between a daily bar and a 1 minute bar, right? Like if I were to go to the 1 minute as well, this could be daily and you would have no idea. What I like to do is I'll pick a base time frame. So let's say I'm looking for a trade, and this all just depends on how frequently I want to trade. If I want to do a lot of trading, I'll use a lower time frame, like the 1 minute. Now, if you like to hold your trades for longer, you're going to use a higher length of time, let's say a 4-hour bar. Anyways, so I personally like to stick to the 15 minute. Okay, so first thing we have to pick is the base time frame. We have our base time frame, it's the 1 hour. Now we have to pick our exact triggers for entry. So let's say my trigger to enter would be when price breaks this low here. If price comes down and closes below this low here, I want to enter when price comes back to the top again. Let's say that is those are my conditions. So if this happens, I will enter the trade. Now, this is where using a higher time frame comes into play. Before I do that, if you guys are looking for a great broker to use, I highly recommend signing up with Hanko Trade. They have up to 500 leverage and spreads as low as 0 pips. If you want to sign up, it's really quick, really fast. You can deposit your account with crypto. Sign up with the link down below. Okay, so now this is the important part here. So when you're looking to enter, now this is where you have to get a bias as well. So this is where I jump to the higher time frame. And for me, the rule is the higher time frame is always 4 times the amount of the base time frame. So let's say your base time frame is the 1 hour. You multiply that by 4, which would be 4 hours. So that will be my high time frame. Now this time frame determines if we are in an uptrend or downtrend for me. And as I can clearly see here, we are definitely in a downtrend. Price is heading down. We have broken some recent lows over here. So price is definitely pushing lower. That's all I really use that for. Might be some other things I like to use it for, just to get a kind of overall look at structure. Okay, this is a nice little zone we're playing off of right now. So it's a good area to look for price to reverse. That is all I will do. Now I head back to my main time frame, the 1 hour, and this is when I wait for my trade to play out. So as you can see, one of my conditions is already met. We have price breaking this low structure here and this low structure here. Now I'm looking for price to come back to a certain specific area. And we're about to get into why it's important to use the lower time frames too. So I like to wait for price to come back to, let's say, an area where there's lots of wicks. So an area like this, an area like this over here with all these little wicks up top here. Also, we have some consolidation going on here, and then an order block here. So it looks like majority of the area to enter would be up here. So I will place a entry here and a nice stop loss above this structure here. We want to keep a nice decent stop loss away. Now for targets, we can have a static target, let's say 1 to 3, or we can actually pick an area. So we can pick the very bottom of this trend, or we can exit dynamically, but I already got into that in some other videos. So now there's something that I will do. This is where using lower time frames comes in handy. If you want to, you can jump to the lower time frames, and now you can look for an even better entry. So I'll get rid of this because that's what I would normally do if I just set it and forget it. But if you want to, you jump to the lower time frame. Now a lower time frame is going to be the opposite of higher. So if a higher, you times it by 4. For lower time frame, you divide it by 4. So the hour divided by 4 is going to be 15. So I use the 15. Now, I will look for more price action. This becomes my new base time frame for these smaller entries. So I'll look for price action to play out on the smaller time frame. So let's say, you know, I want to enter when price breaks this low here. All right, so we don't have price breaking that low, but price has now come up. So now, look, it's come right back to our zone where we thought price would, you know, pull back to. This is great. Now we need to come up with an entry plan. So instead of me just entering over here, which I was going to normally, and just setting my stop loss above here, we can actually have a more accurate entry now because we're on the lower time frame. So I'm going to enter with the box method. My latest video talks about the box method, and I'm going to enter off a box method. So we need to wait for price to make at least 3 green candles on this upper trend part, and we are going to take the 3 candles like that. So see, price has made 3 candles here on the MACD. So I'm going to draw a box over the candles and make sure I cover wick to wick the entire trend, and then I'm going to take it and place it below, and now this is my box. So when price closes below this box, I will take an entry. Here we go, price is closed below the box. Now I'm going to enter and put a nice stop loss, let's say above structure here. And now I will set a stop loss to the very bottom of this trend. Let me just bring it up to make it a nice even 7. And we'll call it a day. This is going to be our trade. If it wins, it loses, it loses. So go back to our base time frame, which is the hour, and we'll let this play out and see what happens. As you can see, we won that trade, price perfectly, tapped right down into our exit for a nice 1-to-7 risk to reward ratio. This is why multiple time frame analysis is very useful. For those wondering about my course, I know a lot of you guys are asking questions. You stuck around this long. My course will be coming out soon, trying to get it out for sometime mid-June. We'll see how it goes.